Okay, so corals changing color can be a very frustrating phenomenon for aquarists. Because basically what happens with corals is corals are an animal, and then they have a relationship with zooxanthellae, which is algae, that grows within the coral and affects the pigment of the coral, therefore addresses the color of the coral. Now, various things can happen that can cause the coral to need to change zooxanthellae, which can mean bleaching, which means there can be situations where maybe the water's too fresh, or maybe the temperature's too high, or your nutrient levels are too high, where the coral can actually release, like blow its zooxanthellae out, often if there's too much UV light. And because if the conditions are wrong and the coral contains this algae within the surface of the coral, then toxic situation can internally arise. So therefore there are various times when the coral needs to expel its zooxanthellae. And then when the coral has expelled its zooxanthellae, it will turn white. Now, the media loves to call bleached coral dead coral, but most of the time the coral bleaching is a very healthy sign. It means that the coral is reacting to an adverse circumstance. Now, the coral can actually survive for months without zooxanthellae, but the coral is keen to get zooxanthellae back again. So quite often the natural reefs will turn white when there's a stressful event. Then the media will run around and say that the corals are all dead. But then over the coming months, the corals will take on all these absolutely beautiful colors. And that's while the coral are re-establishing zooxanthellae. But the thing that is particularly annoying for aquarists is that the super healthy corals, especially in more nutrient-rich environments where the corals are able to thrive and grow the most, then the predominant color of the coral will be like a brownie color, because the color of the zooxanthellae is a brownie color. So right now what I'm mainly talking about is not so much the LPS, which are the fleshy corals. It is not so much the soft corals. It is much more the SPS, which are your hard corals like these ones. So once again, you can have a coral, something can happen. They can over time change color. They can change color in reaction to the light present, the nutrients present, or any of your other parameters can actually cause the coral to change color. So a coral changing color, even very dramatically, can be a very natural occurrence, and it is not necessarily a factor as far as the coral dying is concerned. It can actually be a healthy response to a situation. So if you're going to buy these sorts of corals, you need to be aware that just because you buy a lovely green coral, it doesn't mean it's going to stay lovely green. And a coral can go brown, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. So the fact that it's going brown just may mean that it's got more zooxanthellae, and in a high nutrient environment that may be required, and that may be natural, and that may be good. On the other hand, the coral may actually bleach out and turn white, and that may be a good reaction to an adverse situation. So all of this is usually not the way that it's portrayed in the media, but it is something as aquarists that we need to be aware of. We need to know that there are various things we can do to improve the color of our corals, and understanding the right lighting environments, understanding our nutrient levels, and the addition of trace elements, minerals, and so forth. So if you're not getting the results that you want, come and see us here at Majestic Aquariums, and we can spend some time with you. We may find that your lights are wrong, We may find that your trace element supplements are wrong. And there's various things that we could do to help you. And one thing that we highly recommend doing is doing a Triton test, because there are ICP tests available that can help you understand your micro and trace elements. And then it's basically a matter of making sure our salinity is right, making sure that our macros are right, which is our carbonate, magnesium and calcium levels, and then to make sure that our traces are right. So there are various things that are going to affect the colors of the coral, and these are things that we can help you with. We can help you regulate your nutrient levels, make sure that your nitrate's not too high, and what we can't help you with is patience, because you must absolutely be patient if you're going to run a saltwater aquarium. So we can help implement changes, and then you must follow our guidelines and you must be patient, because running a reef tank is all about understanding what's going on and being patient.